Hello everyone, thanks for joining my channel again. I'm gonna review two films for you today, and one of them is really old, but I haven't really watched that many films this week. So the two films I'm gonna review for you today are Death Becomes Her from 1992, I think, and a new film called The Road's Not Taken. I'm gonna do Death Becomes Her first because it's just really easy to talk about, and there's not much I have to say about it. And then the second one is called The Road's Not Taken, which is a new film out this week. And I'll go more in depth with that one, I think, because there's just more to talk about. So the first film is called Death Becomes. So you might know this one. It's quite a famous film. It stars Goldie Hawn, Meryl Streep, and Bruce Willis. And I'm just going to say this. This is the first Bruce Willis film I've seen that I've enjoyed. I don't know all of his work, but generally I'm not a massive die-hard fan, and I don't really know much of what else he's been in apart from like one episode of Friends in the 90s. But yeah, this is just a brilliant, really funny film from the early 90s, 92. And I it's not a film I would have chosen to watch, but I love Meryl Streep, so I love it. But the reason I watched it is because um, I'm moving away next week, like I said last week, and I had like one last night with my friend Corey and her boyfriend Tom, and so we all watched that, and it's just so. It won the 1993 Oscar for Best Visual Effects, and I know I'm sitting here in 2020 with all of the great effects that we have these days, but the effects in this film are so bad. But in like Tom kept saying that they must have been groundbreaking at the time, and I suppose they were, but it's just like Meryl Streep's head contorts to turn around and floating on the stairs. And I guess you have to see the film to know what I'm talking about, but they're just so bad that it feels weird watching it 20, yeah, almost 30 years on, and just knowing that visual effects were that bad back then and they were seen as great. But yeah, it's just really funny. The film's about Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep are both at some point going out or married to Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis is a plastic surgeon, and then he turns into an undertaker who works at the morgue. And yeah, it's just really funny, really camp. Um, Isabella Rossellini's in it. Um, yeah, just like it's just so silly. I just love it. It's a very. I kept saying every scene got more and more ridiculous, and I just kept saying this isn't a Meryl Streep film. Like if you told me about this film, I would not cast Meryl Streep in it, but she's brilliant in it, obviously, because she's Meryl Streep. But yeah, it's really funny. It's a good film to watch as a group, and yeah, I'd totally recommend it. Really fun. So yeah, um, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm trying to think of a star to give it. I'm gonna give it 5. I think I loved it. Um, there's nothing wrong with it. It's aged well. Yeah. There's a scene where Goldie Hawn wears a blackberry, sort of like black, all black costume. So I think I might go as that for Halloween this year as like a niche reference. But yeah, um, the second film and final film I'm going to review this week, I'll try and keep this short, is a film called The Road's Not Taken, which is a new film that was written and directed by Sally Potter. And if you're going to see this, I'm going to say this now. It's an 85-minute film, but when you watch the trailer, you think it's going to be. It looks like a 2-hour film, but it's just in 90 minutes. And I'm going to say you're going to, if you're like me, you're going to feel like you want to walk out of the film because the first hour is just absolute nonsense. This one is so bad, but then the final half an hour makes up for it, and it's the final half an hour is brilliant. But it's just a very. I'm sure they're not doing it on purpose. Maybe it's just the way I feel. But I would have regretted walking out, I think, because the last half an hour ties everything together and everything makes sense. So it stars Javier Bardem, Elle Fanning, Laura Linney, and Salma Hayek. So it's quite a good cast, but the trailer makes the film look way better than it actually is. Laura Linney is in a lot of the trailer, and then she's in like one scene, I think, one quite long scene, about 5 minutes. But I was really looking forward to that because Laura Linney I really like her as an actress, and she's my favourite character in Love Actually, so I was looking forward to seeing her. It was just like a bit of a waste. I feel like she could have been in it more. I'm going to say Elle Fanning is the best actor in this film. She's really good. I feel like she's brilliant. She's brilliant. Her performance in this is brilliant. It's a shit film, but she's really good in it. So it's a brilliant performance in a shit film, which I feel like a lot of actors are and have been. Um, Javier Bardem's character is such. You just don't know what's going on. So there's three different storylines going on at once. You've got a previous life, Javier Bardem, where he's married to Salma Hayek and they're living unhappily married. Then you've got Javier Bardem from 20 years ago, but 10 years after the Salma Hayek life, I think. And then you've got modern day Javier Bardem, where he's in New York with Elle Fanning. So to explain all of those things together, it's the film is so confusing. Every scene mixes into each other, so you never know where you are. And there are scenes where you'll have, for example, Elle Fanning saying one line, and then the next line carrying on with that conversation is Salma Hayek from 20 years ago. And you have to see this film because I'm not explaining it well at all, but if you've seen this film, you know what I'm talking about. And it just doesn't make any sense at all until the final half an hour. Now, I've never made a film, but I just know that that is not the way you do it. And the character that Javier Bardem plays, he's a bit of a creep. He's kind of stalking this girl on a Greek island. In the bit where he goes AWOL and he moves to Greece tries to write a story, and then in modern day uh, New York, he it's never mentioned what illness or condition he has, but I'm assuming it's Alzheimer's or dementia because he doesn't know anything. He's always forgetful. He can't remember who his wife or kid is. and it's just a really poor portrayal of that if it is Alzheimer's. It's not very well written at all. It was written by Sally Potter. I googled Sally Potter before seeing this film, and I haven't seen any of her films before she wrote and directed it, but I know I won't. Well, I'm not going to say I'm not going to see any of her films, but if this is what all of her films are going to be like, then I don't want to see them because I feel like it was a waste of time. But then when I say that it wasn't a waste of time because the half an hour makes up for it, listening back to myself now, I understand how confusing this sounds, but that's how confusing the film is. It doesn't make any sense at all. So to summarize, it's basically a film about Javier Bardem as a writer, and he develops, we're assuming, Alzheimer's, and the story is about. So it's a day in the life in New York, but then there's cutaways to a day in the life in Greece and a day in the life in his marriage with Salma Hayek, and it just doesn't make any sense at all. I saw it with my friend Josh, and we were talking about it, and I think he thought I was joking, but I was saying like Elle Fanning might get a Best Supporting Actress nomination for it because as terrible as the film is, she really is brilliant in it as Javier Bardem's daughter. He was saying like even if the performance is brilliant, one of the best performances you've ever seen, it's not, it's very good. The film still has to be brilliant, and I just don't. I've thought about this for a day, and I'm still really confused. I don't know if I like it because I still can't tell if I like it or I hate it because I hate it because it was a waste of time and I really didn't enjoy it for an hour. But then on the other hand, I love it because everything tied up at the end and things started to make sense. And then I started like, um, you finally understood the characters towards the end. But I just feel like I'm a patient person sometimes, but I think a lot of people are going to walk out of this film if they don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, this was a rambled review. I've thought about this for most of the last 24 hours and I still don't know what I think of it. So I'm going to give it, like what I'm saying with when I don't know if I love it or I hate it, this is what I'm confused about because I don't know what star I'm going to give it because if I give it 3 stars, I feel like I should give it 3 because by the end I loved it, but I hated it for most of it. So, but then I feel bad about giving it 2.5 stars. So I think I'm gonna give it 3. I told when I was talking to Josh about it last night, my initial instinct was a 3 star, and he said you can't give that 3 stars because you hated it for so long and everything like that. But I've thought about it for a day. Maybe I need to think about it more, but for now, maybe if I see it again by next week, I'll update you and maybe I'll have changed my mind. So we'll say 3 stars pending, and then I'll see how I feel next week. But yeah, so that's my review of The Rose Not Taken. I forgot to tell you, a lot of it is in Spanish, so it's kind of a foreign language film, but it's half Spanish, half English. So that I think that's maybe one of the reasons I kind of enjoyed it more. But yeah, so 3 stars for that, and then 5 stars, I think, for Death Becomes Her. So that's my review for this week. Thanks again for watching if you've made it this far. Sorry for a ramble, but you need to see this film to understand how confusing it was. But yeah, I'll leave my. I think you guys liked it last week when I left all of my previous reviews up here, so I'll do that again for you. Yeah, I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.